Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Muscovy. We are in a war right now against the Great Horde in Nogai. It is the second war that we've fought, and we are going to be taking this slow, and we are going to be explaining more, just reaffirming a lot of what we talked about with the Novgorod War, but also going over some things that we actually missed in the Novgorod War. Now that we have a better understanding of sort of post-war situation, we can assess that. We can see how we can actually evaluate that and assess that before we even commit to a peace deal, right? The other thing that's happened is actually the Renaissance has spawned in Bologna. In Bologna, the Renaissance has spawned. In Italy, there it is. And essentially what this means is that this is something that is a huge technology milestone. The idea, all of the different it's like the Renaissance is like a big umbrella for a lot of different sort of progressive ideas and technologies and stuff that would have permeated the world, right, and changed the world. And whether or not we get access to that ideology and whether or not we get access to those ideas and those specific technologies and stuff will either enhance or inhibit our ability to get new technologies in the future. So we can see that this changes everything. It says countries that have not fully embraced the Renaissance institution will receive an increasing technology cost penalty of 1% per year to at most 50%. That is not good. We haven't gotten any of our technologies yet. Now you're saying there's going to be an institution tech penalty? Right? Let's pause the game. Because we're at war and our troops are moving and grooving. We're going to get an institution tech penalty, 1%, scaling 1% per year. That's kind of insane. Because we haven't gotten any technologies, and now you're telling me we're going to have to pay even more for these, right? So we do want to quickly sort of get these techs up right now while they're cheap, before this technology gets too expensive because of that penalty. However, there's a button in here, a sub button within the technology screen, where we can now sort of monitor the Renaissance. Okay. And we can see that it looks like is it actually spreading in some of these areas? So because I'm actually not 100% sure. I didn't think it would be spreading up here yet. But if just hovering, just looking at this area, it looks like we're getting a small amount of spread. These sort of green bits, green and red. I guess red is we don't have the Renaissance there, but green means we're getting some progress potentially, right? So we can click on these provinces to see how quickly it is progressing there. So because these are higher development provinces, we're probably just getting, I think if it's at least 10 development. I think if at least 10 development, it will spread, but it's going to be spreading very slowly. Very slowly. It spreads much quicker if you're bordering countries with a positive relation that already have it. When I say it spreads, I mean it literally spreads. Like it's going to be spreading from here very quickly. Like Bologna already has it. Boom, they have it. Venice is going to have it very shortly. Austria is going to have it after that. Poland's going to have it after that. Lithuania, and then eventually it's going to spread over to us. So unfortunately, we're actually kind of far away to be getting this, right? There are other ways that we can actually boost the Renaissance and actually get it to propagate in our country as a second sort of spawn point, but it requires a lot of development. So essentially, if we click on Moscow, and we'll see that, and we go to the institution tab here, and it's a tab within a tab within a tab, basically. But if we go to the, click on Moscow and we go to the institution tab here, we can see there is a small amount of progress. At this rate, it's going to take 100 years. It is literally going to take 100 years. Well, if we're getting a 1% penalty every year, up to 50%, that means in 50 years we'll have the full penalty. And then we have to wait 50 more years to get this embraced? No, that's obviously not going to fly, right? But this will scale up, right? As the countries domino, this will scale up over time. But the other thing to think about is if we develop Moscow, it says actually we can get a plus 3% boost to the Renaissance in this region specifically, right? So we can actually spend development to boost this along. And you don't do that everywhere. You just do that in one province. And once Moscow has embraced it on a local level, they can permeate it around Moscow. So it'll be spreading very quickly around Moscow, and it creates a central, another sort of hub of spread, right? Another sort of outbreak for the Renaissance itself. So it could be that we want to develop these provinces. Of course, it's very expensive to do that. It's at the cost of getting technologies is developing provinces to get institutions. But when we develop our provinces, we do get the benefit of getting more taxation, getting more production, getting more manpower. So we are making an investment in our country's future. Developing is a really good thing. We're going to wait. We're going to let this ride for a little bit, to be honest, because right now that penalty isn't scaring us. It's at 0% right now. and we're going to see how the other countries domino and see if we can actually get it a little bit, you know, ideally if we could get it on the cheap, that'd be great, right? If we could get it on the cheap, that would be great. Okay, let's take these troops. We got 14,000 dudes here, 6,000 mercs, and lots of our friendly subjects. And we are moving and grooving, and we are trying to lead these guys. We got everybody attached. We are essentially trying to lead these guys potentially into a battle here. But I do not see... We'll leave these guys to kind of protect the rear, but I just don't see where the enemy is right now. We're sieging down the Great Horde, but they're just kind of hanging out. They're just kind of hanging out. Like, we're just marching on them here. 7,000 dudes down here. Can we engage? No. So it looks like for the most part, we're about even on manpower. We're gaining a little bit. We're losing a little bit to attrition, right? These sieges here, we're losing attrition there. We're losing attrition moving into enemy territory. You take an attrition tick whenever you move into an enemy's territory. Let's get down over here, actually, if we could. And maybe sit on Nogai. Because if we sit on Nogai, we might be able to actually get them to not want to be in the war. So the war goal, again, is this province here, and we control it. It's marked as ours. We've stood on it, and we control it. If we go down to the war screen here, this crest down here, it says we have 13% war score right now. That's a positive 13%, right? A complete unconditional surrender on our part would be a negative 100. If we get this to a positive green 100% for us, that means that we've basically completely wiped out the enemy, right? We've sieged down the entire enemy, and we can take what we want. We can see that the Great Horde has high enthusiasm. The war just started. There's no reason for them to not be enthusiastic about this war, right? There's no reason why they feel like they need to end it and give us a bunch of stuff. Their cities are being looted, though, so that is sort of a summary of sort of devastation and stuff that's being caused. They're building, and this is causing a little bit of war exhaustion for them. We're getting a little war exhaustion, too, for taking attrition. They're getting war exhaustion because their country is being ravaged, physically ravaged. We can confirm that the war goal is this. This bar down here is just the total war score and how it's a tug of war, basically, and how it's going into our direction. We're getting something called the ticking war score. We talked about this a little bit, but I just want to talk about it again. So our war score so because the war goal, you get extra war score because of the war goal, up to 25% just because we have the war goal. It ticks upwards. Every month we get a tick. And we get a little bit more war score because we control the war goal. So it's like it's a pulsing sort of benefit there to do that. This is a little confusing to me. I don't know where we have a 4-shock general there. One of our vassals is contributing a 4-shock general. It's pretty good. I don't know where the enemy is. They seem to be... Oh, they're up here ravaging Perm. They are up here ravaging Perm. That is kind of annoying. What I think we'll be able to do, though, is sort of take advantage of that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to carpet siege. We're gonna take advantage of the fact that there's a bunch of dudes up here, and we're just going to try to ravage these guys down here, and maybe actually force Nagai out, right? Ideally, if we could scare Nagai away, that would be really good. We're at 57% on this capital siege here, so that's going to be a good one. We're at negative 28% there, so I'm not that worried about that. We are engaging right here. If we could assign a general to this, that would be worth it, just so that this guy can actually be fighting with a general. This is Perm's land. Our land is over here, so we lost one province. Not a big deal. These aren't forts. These aren't our capitals. They're not the war goal. Losing this land up here is not that bad, except it does cause a certain amount of devastation, right? That they can loot. They sort of take and loot our land. This is woods. Looks like these guys are coming in here. 6,000 against our 9,000 in the woods. We should be able to win this battle. We have a much better general as well. Much better general as well. This should be very decisive. Ooh, those guys almost got locked in. They would have been... That would have been not good for them. Okay, I'm going to create a new unit. Send 1,000 guys down here. Oh, we can't move down there because the fort's blocking us. Let's move these guys up here. And I'm essentially, what I'm going to try to do is siege down Nogai and try to get them to want to leave the war, right? Try to get them to want to leave. Because right now they're, if Nogai just leaves the war, then we won't even have to fight their army. We won't even have to fight their army, which is pretty cool. Of course, the main, because really the only person that we're actually really that interested in fighting, right, is the Great Horde. If their allies want to abandon them, we're not going to say no to that. We're not going to say no to that. Now, what I just did there is I detached, right? I detached a siege, hitting this button a bunch of times, or shortcut D, and then I moved them to here, hit V to detach the one group, moved them to here, detach, moved them to here, detach. We talked about that a little bit in the last, but still, it's, I guess, worth highlighting that again. So those guys are doing basically what I'm kind of calling a carpet siege. So it looks like they are going to try to get that siege down. You know what? Actually, can we get there in time? If we can get there in time, we should do this. But it looks like Nogai is going to defend that. But yeah, Nogai would defend there. I don't want to. I'm not really that interested in fighting 16,000 men there. But it would be. We would be the defenders, right? It is important to know, because there's a capital fort here. We would be the defenders. Thing is, Perm is just our subject. I'm really not that interested in whether Perm, you know, is happy or not, or, you know, like what their economic situation is like. They're just one of our little subjects. They're taking the brunt of it, but that's okay. I want to get these guys out of here so they can stop pillaging our own land. Oh, looks like we're going to catch them here. Looks like we're going to catch them. Very nice. Our dude's just so fast. Looks like there's going to be a bad engagement right there, but we are carpet sieging Nogai. And Nogai might want to get out of the war. So what we can do is we can try to separate peace. See, the funny thing is, when we fought Novgorod, there was only one war enemy, right? Now we have multiple war enemies. Let's get a diplomat available. Okay, so we have enough to get a claim on the Livonian order. And it looks like we can reach either of these two provinces, right? Based on this connected to, this is directly connected, but then this is connected via the Gulf of Finland. So we can claim stuff that's connected via one sea tile or one direct land tile. So we could actually just grab a claim on Revel here, which is a slightly richer province. So that could be good. So let's grab that. Let's bring this diplomat back so that we can sort of start to assess the situation with the diplomats. And what I can do is, now that I have a free diplomat, I can go to the war screen and I can hit this button here. Select this option, will allow you to offer a peace deal to your enemy. Okay, so we can start to see, what are you willing to give us? In fact, I bet you they're just willing to give us what we want, essentially, right? It does say there would be a coalition here. It's saying Novgorod's the only member of this, though, so we don't care about Novgorod at all. There's a truce with us in Novgorod, and as soon as Novgorod, the truce is over, we're just going to attack them again. Novgorod is completely irrelevant in this game. But that's how we check, right? It's warning us, hey, look, there may be a coalition forming. But you can't have a coalition of just one. So Novgorod's not going to care. It warns us about our additional aggressive expansion that will be doled out to other countries, mostly the Great Horde, because we're taking from them. And then also to say that this will be 9%. 9% overextension. Okay. So we probably could, but last time when we fought Novgorod, we took like a ton of stuff, right? And you can see how if we did that this time, if we just start clicking a bunch of stuff, this number right here is massive. Kazan would be upset, Nogai would be upset, Great Horde would be upset, lots of people would be upset, right? Also, it would cost us a lot of Diplo points, it cost us a lot of admin to core this land, it'd be a significant amount of overextension. And for the most part, we're trying to take this so we can get free claims on Kazan. And we can mostly, this is kind of like a side war to eventually attacking Kazan. I don't know if we really want to take a lot of that land. This is also Sunni land down here, so it's going to be hard to deal with. It's going to be hard to deal with. What we could do, though, is by default, you're going to, when you go into this screen by default, okay, you're going to be matched up against the primary war target. The Great Horde is the war target. We declared war on the Great Horde. However, there's little banners over here for Nogai and the other nation, and we can click on these other guys, and we can actually try to get them out of the war. In fact, we actually have a 37% war score against Nogai, which is kind of interesting. So I wonder, would they actually give us money? It's really unfortunate the tooltip blocks, but if we actually do this, we can actually try to take money from them. Let's just go all the way up to the max here. No, they will not accept max money. It's like the fact that tooltip blocks the X there. See, this is whether or not they'll accept the deal. So they're not willing to accept this. So we have to keep kind of clicking it down and seeing where's that threshold where they'll accept. Okay, they'll accept. They'll give us 69 ducats. It's better than nothing. We could wait to siege this out. We could totally wait, but I'm noticing that these 8,000 right here are looking for a fight. Also, no guys building a lot of troops. We saw them raising troops down here, and they're trying to consolidate. This is going to be a big stack. I don't want this to. I don't want their sort of enthusiasm to change as they consolidate their army. I want to get these guys out of the war. There's nothing else we really need from them. We could have them break their alliance with the Great Horde, but that's fine. I mean, they weren't really much of a problem at all. We could have them release this random country over here, but that doesn't mean anything to us. I think we're just going to take a little bit of money and just white peace them, right? No, the war is not with Nogai. We just need to get Nogai out of here. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Okay. Now let's bring it back home here. And here's the question. Can we actually get down here? I doubt it. I doubt we have the military access to get through all these different countries. We do, actually. We do, actually. That's interesting. But I don't know if it's going to be necessary because soon we're going to have... Soon we're going to have the Great Horde. Fully sieged, right? We do want this siege to end. Is the Great Horde going into Novgorod's land? Okay. What we could do is we could come back and try to de-siege down Perm. Although I think instead what we're going to do... Actually, you know what? What the heck? Let's do that. It'll be a bit of a march. I don't know. I don't know. The war is won. We're just kind of waiting for this siege to fall. And we could start to look and see what we could actually get from all this, right? Are they going way up here? Oh, come on, guys. Come on, stop being so silly. Uh-oh. We lose legitimacy. This is all bad, right? This is all bad stuff. We're definitely going to lose the legitimacy, but we saw how that was important in determining whether we could get the alliance with the Ottomans. So we've lost some legitimacy. Luckily, we gain legitimacy every year. We're just passively gaining legitimacy just by being in power and just, you know, the longer we're in power, the more like we're building, like we're physically building legitimacy from that. Why can't I move? I think we're a little bugged out. We're somewhere where we're not supposed to be. This is acting really strange. These troops should be able to move away, but they can't. These troops should be black flagged, but they're not. I don't know what's going on over here. We need to get this fort done. So what we need to do is get that fort done. There's going to be a battle over here, though, it looks like. We could try to help out with that. Well, I don't know. That is the war goal. We do need to defend the war goal. Okay, hold on. I don't know. Oh, they're working on Novgorod. We could go fight them on Novgorod. That would be fine, because remember... Novgorod is a fort, so we would be the we'd be the defender, they would be the attacker, and more bad events. There should be a stable government. I'm sorry. We're working on it. We're working on it. Yeah, we do not want these guys to take the war goal. Looks like they're moving off of it. They're a little scared because we're kind of moving into position. They're kind of tiptoeing a little bit here. These guys are trapped and moving. It's kind of annoying. That's a little bit of a bug. We should be able to retreat with these guys, but the fort is pinning them down. Also, it was weird. We had dudes over here that weren't black flagged, which is also strange. Okay, let's go there. It looks like these guys are just walking everywhere and anywhere. They're just being silly. These 4,000 right here belong to this tiny nation down here that we're fighting. So if we go diplomatic screen, we can see that there's a little country down here that we're fighting right now, right? Totally irrelevant. Totally irrelevant, although... I was going to say, if it would let us walk down there, then that would be okay. Yeah, we can get a technology, and we want to do this before the technology penalty gets too high. So let's get the military technology. Gives us more military tactics and land morale, and that told us that we could from up here, right? We want to get we do not want to get behind on military technology. Very, very important. Very, very important. I really would like to get these temples unlocked with the admin technology, but unfortunately... And see, we're trying to get our leader to die because our heir is so much more skilled, right? Higher diplo skill, higher military skill. And that's going to be really critical now because we're starting to feel the strain, right? We're starting to feel the strain for... the power points. 14% down here. Once this fort falls, that's a huge amount of war score, and that's the reason why. That's kind of the reason why the Golden Horde feels emboldened, because we haven't actually taken their castle yet. We are going to catch him over here, though. This is a bad battle, but I guess we're doing it anyways. We have significantly better military technology than them. We are taking a -1 because we're in the woods, but we have way more morale, more military tactics, more discipline. Look at this is literal destruction. Look at their bar going down here. Just getting absolutely decimated. And that was, yeah, they're going to get stack wiped here. Because they're retreating to this province because they think they own it. Poor guys. Poor guys, all dead. We only lost 1,000 men. And we wiped out 8,000 Great Horde troops. Not good for them. Not good. I think what we're going to do is send these 9,000 here, right? Send these 9,000 to go deal with these guys. The fort has fallen. Okay. 96% war score. That's basically over. Let's take what we want. Let's get out of this war. We want this province. I don't think we really need anything else. That's going to get us our mission done, right? But we can take a bunch of other things. Like we can humiliate our rival. That's going to give us power projection. Does it tell us what this actually gives us? Muscovy will gain 35 power projection. They are a rival. We can humiliate them. We could also have them ending their alliances or breaking rivalries and stuff. That'll just give us prestige. That's kind of just a way to milk prestige. It says it gives us 5 prestige. We can have them release a country just for fun, but it costs us diplo to do that. And there's no reason to really do that if we don't want to. Yeah, I think we do this. We humiliate them. You know, ending the rivalry, it gives us some extra. It's just a way to sort of farm prestige off of these guys. We can take their money too. We can take their money. There we go. Although for some reason it's not letting us take as much money, so maybe we should remove that and then start to take their money. I don't know, because I guess like you can't. For some reason it's not letting us take more. It's giving us a cap on how much money we can take based on how much war score we take. Kind of a bummer. So we'll take their money instead. We'll take their money, we'll humiliate them, we'll take the province. This will raise our power projection. We haven't talked about power projection, but because we're above 50 power projection, we're actually gaining extra monarch points per month. Very, very strong. If you can hit those different thresholds of 25 and 50, you get those little boosts. We can have extra leaders without upkeep. At 25, we can get extra free monarch points every single month in each category if we're above 50. And the way that we get this is we conquer provinces from our rivals. So we conquered a bunch of provinces from Novgorod. We eclipsed Novgorod. We've declared war on the Great Horde, and we're just basically beating up our rivals, right? Beating up your rivals gives you this. This gives us more morale of armies. It gives us more global trade power. It gives us more prestige. It gives us more legitimacy. Whew, such a good stat. Such a good stat, and you basically just get it by going to war and smacking some heads against your rivals. There we go. The war is over. We've taken the land from the Great Horde. Now, this is not our culture, and this is not Sunni. This is a very unstable land, but it's just going to be one province. We should be able to deal with it. We've completed a mission, so we can click this. And let's go to our diplomatic map mode before we do this. Voila. Wait. I think we have to let it unpause to update. Uh-oh. Diplomatic. There it is. We had to actually move out of the map mode, move back into it. There we go. We got all these free claims on Kazan. Tons of free claims on Kazan. So we could just swoop in here and grab all that up nice and easy, and that'll tie into more missions that will give us more free claims and more conquests and stuff. So this was a little small war to set us up for a big war. Set us up for a big one. So let's get these mercs like over here and kind of in their own position. Let's try to reconsolidate our armies. We didn't really have our troops that well organized. We could rest some guys. Rest some guys on the province with unrest. These dudes come down here and border Kazan because there is going to be war against Kazan. We could double check our truce with Novgorod, 62. So we're still 9 years away from Novgorod. Of course, we took a province. That means we have overextension. We need to manage that by coring it. And then we can also look at our take a look at our rebellions. Kola is going to be rebelling at some point. These guys way up here are going to rebel at some point. Now, there's something we can do about that. This is one really annoying province that's not very valuable to us, right? We're not planning on stating this or anything. We're not expecting this to ever really be of any value to us. So one thing we can do is I can actually go in here and actually raise autonomy. I can do the opposite of what we sort of would normally want to do is we can raise autonomy. It's already at 90. We could boost it up to 100%, which would make it completely useless as a province. It was already 90% useless. But this will actually reduce local unrest by 10. Local unrest is going away, but you can see that we're getting nothing from the province anymore. It's just like completely docile. But this is going to go away in... that local unrest will go away in 30 years. But by the time 30 years has progressed, the separatism will go away too. So the separatism in the autonomy increase modifiers will go away at the same time. That will make it so this will never ever rebel. You can see that 50% now, that rebellion is now going away. They're happy. We gave them more autonomy thematically, right? We gave the local people there more control over their own lives, and they're like, fine, we can exist under these terms. They're basically running their own country up there, to be honest. They're not giving us anything. They're not paying us taxes. They're not helping us out with production. They're not helping us out with trade power, with men. They're not contributing men to the army. They're not helping us at all. But there is no unrest up there. And over time, all of the autonomy will still go down. The autonomy is going back down to 90. So it is slowly going back down. So everything is totally fine on that. We have a lot of money. We just stole a bunch of money. We have a lot of it. I would love to build some temples with this money. Oh man, that would be awesome. We don't have temples unlocked though, because it costs administrative power. And we're spending all of our administrative power conquering land, right? Conquering Novgorod. It's actually kind of a funny thing. Let's actually reduce the fort maintenance back down. Mothball the forts, going into military tab, mothball all our forts because we don't need to pay for those. Just sort of managing the economy here. We don't really have to pay for our troops, although I do think there is a chance here that we are going to be attacking Kazan very quickly. Kazan is allied to... Oh, they're allied to Crimea. We were hoping to maybe get the alliance with Crimea. This would be a much, much, much more difficult war. Much more difficult war. Uzbek, Crimea, Chagatai, and Kazan, adding up to a total of 50,000 men and 125,000 men in their reserve. Compared to our 50,000 men, 49,000 to be exact, and 110,000 men in reserve. Holy cow, this would be significantly more difficult. Significantly more difficult. Crimea doesn't even want to ally us. Doesn't even want to ally us. This is because we've rivaled, right? We've rivaled Kazan. See, I will say, Muscovy, you can see that Muscovy is very powerful. And we can beat up our neighbors and sort of take advantage of a lot of this stuff, right? But we can also kind of detect that Muscovy has a tricky diplomatic situation. And that streamlined diplomacy, the fact that we don't have any allies and we can't get any allies, that actually kind of makes it a more simplistic game. But at the same time, it's like, dang, it'd be nice if we had an ally. You know what I mean? Because if we had an ally, we could try to get them to help us against Kazan. We could try to help us against Poland, help us against Denmark and Sweden and Norway, this sort of conglomerate over here, right? We're only 1 year away from that magic number of 1454 where we can start integrating some of our subjects into our country, though, which is kind of interesting. We're not that far away from getting a diplomatic technology. We're just thinking right now, right? I mean, all these people around us hate us. Crimea doesn't hate us, but they don't want to ally us because we are rival to Kazan. So we have drawn a battle line. We've drawn a diplomatic battle line. Say, hey, Kazan is our enemy. Kazan says that we're our enemy. So Crimea is not going to ally us because they know there's going to be strife. Like, they don't want to be caught in the middle between two alliances like that. So that's why this modifier is saying, nope, they've picked a side. They've picked Kazan. Kazan got there first, so to speak. Nagai, technically the funny thing is we could ally Nagai, but to be fair, we didn't actually... This could be interesting. This could be better than nothing. This could be better than nothing. Nagai would ally us. I think we do it. We have 2 diplomatic relationship slots, so I think we ally Nagai. We have... Oh, by the way, we've eclipsed some of our rivals. We eclipsed the Great Horde. We eclipsed... we don't have enough rivals, right? We should rival Denmark. Oh. So just the same way that Crimea being allied to Kazan and us being rival to Kazan is creating a diplomatic situation, it's possible that if we rival Poland, and Poland and the Ottomans decide they don't like each other, which right now they're actually okay with each other. They're not mortal enemies yet, but the future of Poland and Ottomans, they're not going to like each other forever. I don't really want to rival Poland because Poland is kind of scary, but the thing is Poland doesn't like us because they've rivaled us, and that's not going to change. That's not going to change. Man, that's tricky. That's tricky. Yep, and we really do want to maintain our rivals, our own rivals. So let's go to our diplomacy screen. Let's go to rivals. Let's slot in Poland. It's got to be. It's got to be. We're not going to be able to salvage that relationship, unfortunately, historically speaking, and just in this ecosystem, in this literal ecosystem. Because as soon as we attack Livonian Order, Poland's going to be pissed. So, but that's fine. That's fine. And I'm thinking Livonian Order could actually be our next means of attack. It looks like they have they're much weaker than if we were to attack. They're allied to Teutonic Order and a nation sort of in here, and that's significantly weaker in Riga as well, than what we would be facing against Kazan. The other way to look at this war against Kazan, though, is to think that if we attack Kazan, we could sort of blitz them down. We could blitz them down, and they might not want to... They might not... their allies might not be able to actually, like, get there in time. Like, Chagatai, if I remember correctly, is kind of over here. Like, they're deeper into Asia. It could be realistic that they don't get there. And we could just sort of do, like, a sort of a blitz on Kazan, and we could sort of, like, subdue them before the allies can even really make something happen there. The other thing to think about is whether or not Crimea would actually be able to get military access. They can't get military access through the Great Horde, probably. And Lithuania, they probably could go through Lithuania, though, at the worst case scenario. And I guess, like, if Kazan got military access through Great... Yeah, I don't know. So Crimea would definitely be able to march up into our country if they were at war with us. It looks like Uzbek is not a small nation. We can, if we hover over their allies here, these check marks, what I'm doing is I'm checking to see by how much are they willing to accept this call. So Crimea has a small amount of debt. It has some war exhaustion, has some debt. It's not really that interested in going to war right now, but they still, because it's a defensive war, they still will join. So what can happen, though, is if war breaks out between these countries, like if there's another war between Kazan and the Great Horde, or Great Horde and Kazan, or if a war breaks out elsewhere, right? If war can break out elsewhere, then that can destabilize the alliance network and give us an opportunity to attack. We know we have a really good war against Novgorod in 9 years. That's basically a given. We could attack Livonian Order. We could actually start to build a spy network on Denmark and use it to get claims on Sweden, because again, Denmark owns Sweden, right, currently. Sweden is still, actually, well, Liberty Desire for Sweden is 33%. 50% is the magic number. We talked about that because we have our own subjects, right? We're managing the Liberty Desire of our own subjects, which are basically 0%. These guys are incredibly loyal. Incredibly loyal. Incredibly loyal. However, Sweden, not as much. It is possible that Sweden could actually become hostile towards Denmark. And if Sweden breaks away, that could be a good opportunity for us to, for an ally potentially, or even for us to conquest into Scandinavia. I'm tempted to actually build relationships with Sweden and just wait for that moment for them to get disloyal, and we could actually help support their independence, which would be kind of cool. Or just embolden them a little bit to fight for their independence, I guess. We have the reason to attack Livonia in order. That could be an option, but we could also just enjoy the sense of stability that we're going through right now. We do want to be befriending some of our... I don't know which of our countries we'd want to integrate first. To integrate a subject, we've talked about how next year we're going to be able to do this on some of these guys. To do this, we have to have 190 opinion. So we just need to work on these guys a little bit. Totally possible to do that. Perm actually looks a little bit like we could sort of feed them some Kazan land. These guys don't really have anything to be like given, really. They do have a lot of claims on Novgorod, but we already have claims on all of Novgorod. These guys are kind of on a border edge. Yeah, I don't know who... We might do these guys first because they like us and they're just kind of in a position to do this. And then maybe second we'll do these guys over here because they're kind of more on the edge there. Although I think they have a fort, don't they? So presumably they're paying for this castle for us. So if we took over this land, we'd have to pay for that castle ourselves. Maybe it's good just leaving that guy there to pay for that fort and kind of maintain that for us. That's like his job. He's like the fort guy. He's like the fort guy, defend the borders there and stuff. So we have a lot of troops here just sitting around, and we could stop paying for them while we're sitting around and thinking about this. We're kind of looking to see maybe if Kazan sort of like, if something happens diplomatically with Kazan that sort of breaks up some of these alliance networks that are going on. I think this is our own guy here, right? Yep, that's our own subject. So we'll get a royal marriage with him. That's no worries. All right, guys, let's take a quick pause here. We just got done with the war against the Great Horde. We thought a little bit about... We looked more at the aggressive expansion impact. We looked at the diplomatic and admin impact of that. And we sort of broke down how to sort of like piece out a country and how to win a war, again, for the second time in this series. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We're just kind of like, honestly, some of it is sitting around and building up our economy, building up our stability, and waiting for that right moment to strike, right? We're looking for a diplomatic opportunity right now. We're looking for some sort of opportunity, something to break up in the ecosystem that changes the state of things right now, because right now it's looking pretty locked down. But thanks, everybody, for watching. We will continue with Muscovy in the next episode.